Well, hello. We're back with Aristo, and yesterday was his birthday. Was I supposed to say that? Maybe not.
No, that's okay. It's like a non-issue. Facebook just keeps posting everybody's birthday whenever they have it. So, there's so many. If you have 1,000 friends, you're going to have 1,000 birthdays in the course of a year. So it's ordinary. I mean, we all have birthdays. Thanks for all your well-wishings, everybody, today's the day after, though, and I'm sure there's plenty more people with birthdays out there that need, well-wishings more than yours truly here.
Well, this will actually go up for the 5th. I won't post this until...
Even more birthdays then, every 24
So anyway, Aristo, I'm good. I'm feeling good to have you back. I had a really good night last night. If you watched my current video about going...
Yeah.
That was very uplifting for me, but I want to just turn everything over to you, and you can direct the conversation any way you choose.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, the situation last night, because that's going to dovetail, as usual, into something else. Because about 10 minutes before I, came on here, I just saw some kind of, somebody posted something, and, when somebody does that, the wheels turning and say, oh, maybe I should talk about that. As most viewers know, my vector of approach, my whole thing is not to really get into the three-dimensional politics, but at the same time, the alternative, whatever, cabals and this and that, not to get into too much into the financial stuff as much as many people would like that. But it's like, you know about that. There's nothing really to say. I mean, like I said, with the other guy who was saying, what is the IMF doing and how is it affecting you? Well, just look at any South American country. Each place is different. In my honest opinion, you have the greatest impact to make a change from where you are. You don't have to go and figure out everything that's going on everywhere else. They, the so-called powers that be, are using the information age against us. They are giving us all these free perks and apps and this and that and the other to enhance our dependency on the grid, on the internet. We can turn that around. We can turn it around to a good degree, maybe not completely, because it's always going to be there until things completely change. Now, the gripe I have had with Ron is, and many people also, is that pragmatically speaking, change is not a digital thing. It's not either or. And I've had this slight little complaint because Ron and I have, for many, many videos in the past, been speaking about the both and. If there's any point of agreement, we agree that, things are not either or. Whenever you reach a point of controversy, if you look at things that seem polarized and put them together, you can see, a both and condition, a both and solution. And so somebody's going to jump and say, well, how about the psychopaths and normal people? Well, yes, you can even see that. But then when things are polarized and they come together, you have mutual transformation. Now, one side or the other may not survive the mutual transformation, depending when they are in contradiction to each other. So you have to see that. Somebody else said, oh, there's too many needs and shoulds and have-tos in how you talk. And I'm like, well, how do I get a point across without those words? I become a politically correct wet noodle if I don't use conviction in my words. That's demasculating, and I'm speaking for women and men. I mean, it's depassionatizing. How do you say? It basically pops a little hole in your balloon, so to speak, and all of your fuel line, and your fuel goes out. You're being forced to be diplomatic, and I sense that a lot of people, myself included, we've been bullied in our lives. We've witnessed bullying in our lives. We've witnessed injustice, and we want it to stop. So we go around trying to uproot it everywhere we go and throw out the baby with the bathwater. Thus, in my honest opinion, we fall victim to mind control. That is part of the mind control, to get us weak, So can't we actually have a both and here? Can't we be balanced, diplomatic, respectful, but also speak with conviction without having to say, this is just my opinion. I'm sorry if I'm offending you. Please don't feel bad for what I'm going to say. I'm just a nobody. Oh, no, grovel. Do I have to grovel when I say something with conviction? I'm sure many of you out there are pissed off at that kind of attitude. And then there's others that are getting high and mighty from that kind of attitude. I'm not saying specifically anybody I know, but I do have had experience with them in the past. And they may be nice people in their lives, but everybody is tempted by the power trip when you've been stepped on or been in a situation that's been stepped on, and identify with other people around you that have been stepped on and feel sorry and empathize and all of this. You want to stop the stepping, but in the end you end up cutting the feet of your friends, of everybody around you, if you do that too much. We cannot afford easy solutions. We cannot afford to oversimplify, in my honest opinion. So where does that fit into the title here? I don't know. But at this point, let's dovetail into what, Ron had an uplifting video here. And, your son was, talking about his drumming thing and how he had an affliction of the thing, of the, wrist. And I told the guy, look, man, I know that you're the type of person that's not just going to, give up. You're going to do the best you can to minimize your healing period. You're going to believe in yourself, and you're going to not take the stats for granted. And I think that's what he did. You take the knowledge of what's given around you of, okay, you have this affliction and doctors say you're going to take 10 weeks to recover. And you say, no, well, everybody else took 10 weeks. Maybe I can do it shorter. I'm not going to force myself, but I'm going to be informed of every possible spectrum without buying into the crap that I heard somebody said. They were arguing about, various theories of this and that. And somebody just came out and said it. He said, well, if you're not wearing a white lab coat or working for a major accredited institution, you are, I don't believe in anything you say scientifically. So, and some people do have that. And it's like, well, idiot, yeah, that's why people wear white lab coats, for the same way that other people wore black robes and a Pope's hat. And, to make you believe everything they say just because they wear the uniform.
Yeah.
And
well, my son's story sort of dovetails in with that lady that when she was 7 years old was in that automobile accident and was told that she would never walk again.
Yeah.
And I've met her face to face and talked with her. She's walking, and there's still scars, but the diagnosis that the medical profession gave her was totally bogus. Because she didn't believe it. She didn't buy into it. And my son is not buying into the death throes. He says, I'm still going to be a drummer. I'm going to make best with what I have, and do the best I can. And there were tears forming in my eyes as I watched him play last night. So it was really a good night for me.
Things may go up and down. You may say, oh, I'm going to whatever, and then you have a great day, and then the next day you might feel bad. But it's like you can't expect instant solutions. You have to keep at it. If you have a desire to improve your situation in the world, you have to keep at it. The mountain doesn't go away once you take the next step toward the peak. You have to keep climbing. But that's even a zone where the peak is in sight and you know where it is or whatever. Here we don't even know what's going on because we are blinded. We have to awaken instincts. That's always been my message, or my opinion, if you will, or whatever. We have to. And I say we have to because our survival is at stake as far as I'm concerned. If anything, you don't want to go out and follow the conventional route. You can go vote if you want, but know what it means. Are you actually, as in everything, Americans especially, haven't you learned for the past 50 years what voting does? Who are these people that keep coming in and they're the same person with a different face? And that means, well, if we don't vote, well, no, I'm not saying just don't vote and watch TV. I'm saying utilize the energy for something else. Do something that somebody else hasn't figured out yet. Get people and start brainstorming. There isn't any brainstorming. All I hear, and again, people then turn around and say, well, what are you doing? Well, whatever, man. I'm not doing anything. I'm a nobody, okay? I'm a loser like all of you. We're all losers here. And that's good because we're losing. Somebody has poked a hole in our butts and we're losing juice here. We're dripping oil, we're dripping gasoline. They're killing us, as old Alex Jones would say. Not that I really credit that guy either. And it's a good thing to realize it and not be destroyed by the realization, okay? That's the thing. A lot of people say, oh, you know, if you look at it so deeply, it's hopeless, you know, and you've said it yourself. And I'm saying, yeah, that's the shock. But when you become strong, you stand up to the shock because it's not hopeless. Do you see a bomb falling on your house? Has the mushroom cloud appeared on the horizon? Are the zombies walking the streets? Literally, are they chewing each other up? Are there cannibals everywhere? Have they actually sprayed things that are causing people to melt on the pavement? Is this Baghdad? You know, is it Syria? Is it Libya? No, not yet. And don't project onto a future that hasn't happened, you know, and don't think that you can actually go and dig a hole in the ground like a lot of preppers, in my honest opinion. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be toe stepping. But you get tired because I see the establishment stepping on toes and nobody can do a thing. You know, not just toes, necks and hearts and bodies. And a lot of people go, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and let's laugh at the suffering of others. You know, as long as it's a designated group. And that's the thing. See, if they pull you into the suffering, even of a justified person, somebody who's evil and mean or whatever, and all of a sudden you see him suffering and you laugh, it's like, well, who's laughing? I mean, what's that for? Is the world a better place because that person is suffering? Oh, yes, it is, because he's gone. Well, there's a crap load of others, because if you really look at things esoterically, which most people don't, there's a spirit that drives people. And I'm not saying the devil or the demon, but let's just say it metaphorically. There's a mindset that drives people. And this mindset is in more than a few of those who act it out or dramatize it. It's in all of us. So your son exhibited a certain aspect of a mindset, the mindset that says, I'm not going to give up. And he very rightly said, and this is where hope comes in for everybody. You know, it's the old adage, think globally, act locally. He acted locally. It was his hand, his life. I know, I play the keyboard myself, you know, just for fun. And do some composing again, you know, but he's a professional and his hands are his life, you know. So he can't lose it. He's been pushed to the wall and saying, okay, now I'm going to dig deep inside of me and pull out whatever I know about life. And he's not some metaphysical type of person, and he's not into alternative stuff and, you know, into the conspiracy, you know, and everything, you know. He's a normal, creative, artistic guy. And yet he found that, yes, even a normal artistic guy, even a normal person, whatever, can look within. And just like you see all these other people in the certain dietary movements, certain, you know, where they don't want vaccines, you know, they don't have to believe in conspiracies. They go, this is poison, we don't want it for our kids. Where they don't want certain foods, GMO foods. They don't want, you know, fluoride in their water. And they don't go around waiting for the white lab coats to tell them that this is right and this is wrong. It's too dangerous, you know. If there's even a possibility that you're feeding your kids poison, let alone yourself, you are not going to take chances. This is the latent spirit of revolution that people have inside of themselves, and that is the spirit that the establishment wants to kill. And they can't, and they're afraid to go overtly to kill it too fast because it'll rise up. You know, people have a certain limit. They don't know how it's going to rise up. That's the problem. It's not going to rise up like some revolution. That's why you see a lot of movies, a lot of science fiction. Look at the culture. What are they promoting in the theaters? You got lone heroes going around with superhuman powers that nobody has. So it was like, oh, you know, you have to be one of these mutant guys to do anything. Or you have these revolutions of people who basically sacrifice everything and die, and all their loved ones die, some hopeless cause or something, to rise up above the ashes. It's like there is no such thing really as a peaceful, smooth transition. And even the divine intervention zone in some of the movies is usually like some wrath of God where everything gets wiped away in the apocalypse, you know. So you don't have anything that actually allows people to say, okay, we can actually do it viably this way. And yet, if you really want to see the elephant in the room, look to where they're trying to draw your attention from. Basically, they're all dramatizing. Here's a drama, there's a drama, it's all drama. There's drama in the news. Yes, it's real. Yes, the pain and suffering is real. But if you really, really think, out of the corner of your eye, there's an elephant in the room, and they are drawing your attention from it. Each of us can see a part of this elephant. I'm not going to say, well, describe the goddamn elephant. No, I can't even put it into words right now. But I do know, and I urge you, listeners, to look into your hearts and your intuition, the discerning thing that's important. Discernment is like a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it's not going to work. How do you exercise it? There's little details in life that give you hints about it. Your son was given a crisis, for example, and he's going to say, well, shit happens. And yeah, it does. But this crisis allowed him to dig into himself and pull out resources and apply them. These resources are not going to go away. That courage he showed in everything may have been atrophied. Maybe he's been, how do you say, I want to enjoy life and whatever, and he's an upbeat guy, but maybe something was bringing him down. And all of a sudden, he found an inner strength and it applied, and he says, yes, I'm moving and this is natural and I don't have to believe in cabals or anything to do it. You don't have to play their game, in other words. His wisdom at that point rivals anything we expressed in these videos. That's why you were moved to tears. You sense that, the guy who, brought out a natural wisdom. And if he can do it without any new age training, any esoteric this, any religion, any that, anybody can do it. All you need to do is be into your own, not selfish, but into your creativity, he's creative. See, he enjoys what he's doing. He literally brings out a vibe, as they would say, that makes life meaningful for him. While he's playing, life is meaningful, While he's into jamming, life is meaningful. I know what that's like. Musicians know it. You get lost in the whole zone. Writers know it, And if you're not that type of creative person, then look toward what is meaningful for you. Nature, whatever. Find your zone. That is your place of power. Then worry about, and still keep in tune with events and this and that. But if you find your zone is your protection to a good degree from the brainwashing. Because at least from that zone, it's a point of reference. If you lose that, then your body and your mind start coming back to you and start giving you signals. And if you don't listen to the signals, you're going to have a crisis. Crises do not come because we're just being victimized or because shit happens. Shit happens because our natural immunity to shit happening falls. It's like physical immunity. Events, probabilities, they have an energy about them. Again, esoterically speaking, this is what I believe. I can even use physics terminology of probability, patterns, collapsing wave functions and this and that, but that's not really science. That's just using science as a metaphor for something that I perceive. So basically, he's the good example, something anybody out there can actually tap into, and it's common sense. Usually I get the sense of, I don't think people judge me this way, but I do myself. It's like, I'm just saying stuff that everybody should know, and everybody does know. And yes, the thing is, with all the distractions, that is the elephant in the room. You see, it's the stuff we already know, the obvious stuff. That's why it's an elephant. But we're always distracted by this other thing. And then we try to make sense of it and deal with it and argue about it, and the elephant's just there sitting quietly, waiting for us to slowly turn our gaze back to it. The obvious things, like things every school person should know, schoolboy, schoolgirl, the wisdom of the grandparents, just common sense, but not common in the sense of the brainwashed matrix, common in the human sense. You get afflicted, you dig deep inside of yourself and ask yourself, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? In the sense of, do I really want to keep going, or am I going to give up? How much do I value life, my experience of being alive on my terms? You don't have to fight for it violently, but this determination, this passion, that's what I consider important. Nobody's going to kill my passion as far as I can help it. Even if I fall down, I will not forget that I had passion at some point. And it happens. You do fall down and you lose it, and you lose everything, or you lose yourself. But somewhere deep inside, you say, well, once upon a time I had passion. And you know that too. Once upon a time you had passion, and you remember what it did for you, how it moved you forward. But if it was just a carrot, then it's not good enough. Somebody can knock the carrot out, and so where's your passion? You go, well, that wasn't the real passion. The engine is inside. It's not on the outside pulling me or pushing me from behind. So sometimes life throws us these curveballs so we can discover that. On the flip side, you got the establishment throwing us other curveballs. Some of them are distractions. Some of them are downright ritualistic brainwashings, but they also tell a story. And again, to quote, not quote, but express something I saw on some Alex Jones thing, where he says, well, these occultist type, these Satanists, they have to tell you as part of their rules. No, it's not. They don't have to tell you anything. They can lie out their ass. They don't care. But every psychopath loves to brag. It's bragging rights, and not just bragging rights. It's a matter of creating a drama, because a psychopath has no empathy. And deep down, they really don't give a shit. So drama helps things stay in cohesion. And also drama collects intentions. They have to basically tell you the story, because for their intent to carry forth, it has to be made symbolically public, but not consciously so. It has to go into the subconscious. For example, somebody who wants to create a result ritualistically will create a secret alphabet and say something in English, but he'll use different characters that nobody can read but them, and just lay it out. And then they'll even forget what the characters mean. And so it's
they do that with words all the time in legalese. I mean, they make common words
exactly.
Those people, and they make it mean the opposite.
Exactly. It's part of it, because they're sending subliminal messages with a lot of this stuff. And it's become so natural, or so part of the course of things, that it's not even some elaborate thing. It's just little things. You got to remember that since for a long time, the biggest science of the establishment has been psychology, has been mind control, has been, but there's also occultism, for the most part, has also been a kind of metaphysical psychology. It's not like the legends say, at least as far as the modern version for most people is concerned, So I was seeing this video of this tunnel in Switzerland that they just completed. Some people died in the construction, 11 billion US dollars, 57 kilometers long, supposed to unify Europe. And then there was this crazy ritual, something like the London Olympics, with the workers moving forward, and they showed the obedient workers, and the workers who did this sacrificed themselves. Some of them died. And then on the trains, you had the masses, who were just a bunch of hedonistic people in white underwear, acting like idiots, just complete, I'm not going to say the R word, or the challenged individuals or something, to be politically correct. But they were acting like brain dead idiots, going around rubbing up against each other. And it's like, oh, this is how they view us, just some hedonistic, mindless brutes. And the young people, and they were all young. And then these people were running around. And then you had the workers, who basically were the same alter ego of the masses, where you can basically flip a switch and get the slave in the masses, who's just a hedonistic idiot jiggling around, to become a disciplined, obedient robot. And then they had the all-seeing eye, and then they had ghosts, and they had this guy dressed in a goat suit with horns. And it's like, look, the fact is that the ancient shamans of the Middle East 10,000 years ago wore this outfit. These ancient shamans of the Middle East, and they found some cities in Turkey, Göbekli, something like that, I don't remember. But in any case, there is a theory that says that this was the first controlled society, because they got all these villages to come in, the shamans, who were masters at mind control, if you want to call it that, because that's an aspect of occultism. Essentially, if you want to heal somebody, you have to resonate with them, and there is a certain element of hypnosis involved, you might say, as well as actual energy transfers and altered states and other things, and the transcendent element as well. But the point is that This ancient culture 10,000 years ago is not the only one. What they used to call Atlantis when the ice age was still going on, you know, the levels of water were far lower, so you had far more landmass, and there was a whole bunch of civilizations that were not technological. I mean, these people had wood and whatever, so that all got lost when they got flooded. But all of these legends are hinted at and distorted. And the point is that they are trying to revive that ancient control. That's their template. It has nothing to do with Satan. It has nothing to do with Satan, who is basically a construct of a monotheistic religion. And and then one that got taken and brought forth even more by another monotheistic religion. The three Abrahamic religions use these types of things, using all different versions of the same ideal. But the fact is that the so-called Satan is the power-hungry, egomaniacal psychopath. And they have distorted all of this. And yes, that's a psychological interpretation. There's far more going on. But the goat itself is a natural animal. It's an animal, not a natural animal, like it's not genetically engineered. But these shamans used to wear goat horns because the horns are like antennae, and you open up the celestial energies. They would wear cloaks, bird cloaks, so they had wings, and they were like, you know, angels came from that. The Persians believed in the same thing. You know, angels, spirit, anything with spirit was symbolized with wings. But the shamans wore cloaks of feathers. They danced around fires like this. And they could literally, allegedly, visit the dreams of people. You also had in the Bible certain, you know, the angel visits you in your dream. And, you know, these people would project their minds into the minds of sleepers. They would use certain drugs to enhance their states. But they imagine you have people in the village, and it's basically hunter-gatherers, and all of a sudden you can go into the dreams of anybody. Imagine how many people you could control if you did that. So these people built giant monuments for these shamans. And in my honest opinion, again, I'm not saying, well, this is the way it is. I'm saying that from what I've seen, there's a lot of similarities here. And that these people are simply tapping into a very, very ancient historic precedents, just like they do in courts. In courts, don't they tap into legal precedents? You know, where they say, well, the so-and-so, the trial so-and-so and this that happened at this time before supports the decisions we're making now. And so they're doing the same thing. Back in the history, back in the day, those shamans manipulated 10,000 people, forced them to build a giant tower. They called it Babel, and then, you know, and they perished. So we're got to do it without perishing. We got to make sure that we're not going to cause a natural disaster. We're not going to blow up the world, and we're going to be gods afterwards. And we're going to get rid of the riffraff when all is said and done, after we're done with them. So it's a tall order. You know, what they want from us is a really tall order. They can't do it easily, and it can't happen in a day. So I know our time is, you know, I've been talking for a while.
I didn't look exactly when we started, but let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've gone about 30 minutes or maybe a little over right now.
Okay. So, you know, I'll try. It's hard to wrap these gigantic topics up.
I know.
Encompassing, you know, quite a bit. But it's the same message. You know, in all of these videos, I have just one viewpoint, discernment. You know, and to understand the patterns, pattern recognition, and to use your own resources, because right now that's all you've got. You know, you can't, you know, even if you believe in a higher power, that's well and good, but what you have to use are your own resources, and your own resources are not some isolated little thing. They're a gift from whatever you believe is the meaning, the purpose, or the mobilization of life itself. Not just a gift in terms of a generous thing. You are here to make life meaningful. Life is here to make your presence meaningful. It's both and, to turn it around. Once again, we can call this topic both and the power within. You know,
I've already put pattern recognition as a potential title.
Yeah, well, this is but you know, yeah, that's a good one. It's a little cold though, but pattern recognition and the power within. You know, like that. So one might say, well, we don't hear that in the talk, but still, look at the whole from start to finish. And many, many things are covered, and they've always been covered. these discussions for me are not just about a pep talk to give people hope. I cannot give people hope. It's already there. You know, everybody has internal resources. If you are in a position of actually seeing a video like this, you know, or, you know, if you have internet, which is a big deal, it's high technology, basically. If you can actually do that, then you have enough of a situation in your life to access your inner resources. Even if you are not, even if you were homeless or something, you could still start moving, because as long as you're breathing, and as long as you can actually put two thoughts together and have a sense of meaning and remember at least a time when you were passionate, and remember how it felt when you had convictions, even if you were betrayed or they were trampled, you knew that it wasn't about, you know, how things were going to play out. It was about who you are. The conviction, a true conviction, in my honest opinion, the true passion is who we are. The driving force comes from a deep flame of what you might call our very soul. And that's where I believe your son reached into his very soul and pulled out the flame and ignited, you know, a situation to carry him through. And I hope he keeps doing that, because it's not enough just to do it once. Sometimes we go through these things to learn how to do that perpetually. It doesn't have to drain us. Then we realize that forces start coming up against us, whether it seems random or whatever, but something inside us says, you know, why whenever I try to move forward, all these things try to move against me? People, places, events, bad luck, whatever. What is that? And then it doesn't matter, because whatever it is, it's just more reason for me to look at the elephant in the room, because the elephant is inside. That is the secret. The elephant in the room is inside each of us. It's not something on the outside. It's the power we all have. This is not a new agey type of thing. This is something, you know, that's another distraction. The whole thing about that. It's taken some truths and it's drawn us out. It's a distraction, and it's also a distraction when we start fighting it, because then we go to the other extreme, you know. And we try to find a middle, but there is no middle, because the whole thing's been designed to be that way. So we go, fuck it, you know, let me just forget about these distractions a little bit, or let me just forget about everything for a while. I mean, sometimes otherwise you might have a crisis that will make you forget about everything for a while, you know, but you go within and you find something, and it's not some still small voice. It actually seems that way because we've been deafened by the noise. It's really the elephant in the room, which is really the power of the human soul, spirit, mind, body complex, everything, the human condition. The human condition is a miracle on this planet. It is not the desire, in my honest opinion, of life, fate, God, nature, to do away with humanity. Humanity is a treasure, but it's a treasure in the making. And at this point, most of the making comes from within. When I talk about inner work, I don't just mean a little meditation, a little this, a little that. I mean really, really prioritizing being centered, because you're centered not to escape, but to be able to walk like a guy walking over a tightrope. They are centered. They have the balance stick. They don't just do it to escape the world. They do it so they don't fall. And it's not, and they don't fall because they're balanced. When you're balanced, you are you. That's the esoteric meaning of it. It means that you are you, and when you are truly, truly you, you cannot be controlled. You can perceive that what they're trying to do and how it works. And then to anybody who's asked, so how do I develop discernment? That's how. To be able, in my honest opinion, to find your passion, and don't let anybody tell you, unless your passion is another distraction. Now that's another thing. So it's not easy, and it's not meant to be. It would be insulting if it was easy. If you were so screwed and it was so easy to get out of there through it, you know, then we deserve our lot. You know, no, it's the solution is as difficult to attain as all of the pressure of the, you know, crap that's weighing us down is difficult to lift and throw off, you know. So it's in proportion to the problem. That doesn't mean it's undoable. It means that it's something that is a catalyst that is there to transform us, because we're not just gonna go through it and just be ourselves as we are now, or we think we are now. We're going to go through it and reach our true potential, and then life can be meaningful because we are, we have plumbed the depths and brought them out and are living them. This is a promise, in my opinion. It's a promise if it can be done, and it's a start. So I encourage people, and I'm sorry for this ramble, but just say, okay, it's a birthday boys, quirk for once, and just talk a little more than usual. So I guess that's it for today. Thanks for hearing me and for your patience.
Thank you, Aristo, and namaste.
Namaste, Ron.